Today I have a special guest. We have Captain Curt, who has made the transition from private pilot to billionaires to now focusing on real estate. So today we're going to learn about Captain Curt's journey as a pilot and as his journey into real estate, what he's up to. So Curt, how you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us about, do you have any interesting stories from your days as a pilot?
I mean, I've got a bunch of different experiences and stories that I fly for some very wide range of different wealthy people, really, right?
Yeah.
Most of them are all business people. A lot of people ask me, who are the celebrities you fly? A lot of them just charter or rent airplanes, and I don't do that type of flying. I'd rather fly for specific companies or people. So I think most of my experiences, the interesting stuff is I get to have some conversations with billionaires, and the few of the people that I fly regularly are self-made billionaires.
Yeah.
Most people in their lifetime don't get to have those one-on-one talks, and some of them will go into more depth and spend an hour with me during the flight in the cockpit, just talking about life. So it's a pretty awesome experience.
I wonder if some of that has guided you and your life decisions, being able to be around in proximity to those kind of people. Have they kind of guided you in some ways and even inspired you in some ways?
Yeah, and I have a couple clients that kind of come to mind on that, and it's whether it's guidance or not, it's kind of extra motivating that these are just normal people, raised normally. The ones I really associate with are the ones that they weren't raised with money. They went to college and found something that they're passionate about and wanted to become the best. And I guess you could say that's kind of what I strive to do in the aviation world. So I tried to become the best private jet pilot. And what it really came down to that I learned is it's a customer service job. Yeah. You don't have to be this fighter jet pilot. That's just a real small part of it. Mm-hmm. So the customer service based and the privacy, and everything that comes with when you're dealing with people of that value or of that stature, they want to be private. I don't tell people who I fly for, and just you keep that relationship private. But yeah, a lot of the people I'll get personal advice from them. We get to, when they open up, I'll open up to them too. So it's pretty fun talking about just relationships and how they hire people, and what are the key ingredients that made them so successful. And most of them said it's building a team, and who you hire is going to change the outcome of your business.
Yeah. I love that about being around people that are doing interesting things, not necessarily interesting things, but people that have made it. I went to a conference in Las Vegas, a real estate conference, and I saw people, making tens of millions, hundreds of millions in real estate. And I just look at them and these are human beings. These are people that can have the same capabilities that I have. We have the ability to speak, the ability to build relationships, whatever it is. But if somebody else can do it, then I can do it as well. So that's nice. A really good part about being around people that have accomplished something, that it takes kind of the special aura away from these people, and they're like, these are human beings. These are people. Kind of like Rocky, when he's a human,
Yeah.
He bleeds like you bleed.
Yeah, and you like you said, it's interesting. I starting to attend real estate conferences as well, but being around people that are doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just further along. It's not a jealousy thing. It's like, hey, can I learn a little bit from you? Mm-hmm. And that's the same kind of thing as when I'm flying these clients. They're all business owners. You really can't work for someone and become wealthy. Mm-hmm. You can make good money. You can make a lot of money, but it's a difference between someone that creates something. Those are the real wealthy people,
right?
In my opinion.
Well, at the end of the day, you have active income where you're actually going out and building something or earning something, and then you have other investment income, like you have real estate, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But it dawned on me later in life, just a couple of years ago, that if you're going to work for somebody, the amount of money that you're going to make is going to be capped. It's just going to be capped. It's not ever. No one's ever going to pay you $10 million to do something. But you could go out and earn $10 million creating value in the universe in some way. And so that's the beauty of entrepreneurship is we get to create, we get to build, we get to use our creativity to solve problems, and we get rewarded on your ability to solve problems in the world, which is interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've heard a quote somewhere, and I don't know where it is. It said, you get paid on your ability to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Solve a rich person's problem because they pay better.
Yeah.
And it's pretty true,
It's true. And that's the exact reason why I'm getting into real estate. I have a home service business, and we do, pressure washing, roof cleaning, carpet cleaning, that kind of stuff. But, it kind of tends to be, sometimes you're solving for problems that have like a maximum, and so the process in business is the same. You have marketing, you have sales, you have operations, you have relationships. But if you're going to do that to build like a carpet cleaning business, well, you're going to be extremely limited in the way that you scale. But if you solve a bigger problem like real estate, it's the same process, whether you're dealing with $1 million house or a $200 carpet job. And so that's why I'm transitioning into real estate, because I'd rather work on $1 million job than a $200 carpet cleaning job. But the process is almost identical between marketing, sales, operations, business. And so that's what's motivating me.
Yeah, and I agree. I think home service-based businesses, they're never going away.
No.
So
yeah.
those are always a need. I think it's a great way to bring in income. It's a good business. It's not a temporary business like I was saying. So I think that's a good idea, is to keep marketing. And like you said, a $200 carpet cleaning, you have an employee or multiple employees, they can only do so many carpets per day. Mm-hmm. So your scalability is there, but there's a maximum. So the only way to scale that, make more money, hire more employees, which I think since COVID, you'd probably agree, it's just harder to find hardworking employees. Yeah. Whether you offer them some bonus incentives and percentages on, you got to get creative with motivating people these days.
Yeah. Well, the pie's not there also in some home service businesses, because you can only split a $200 pie so many ways,
Yeah.
And then you have issues of scaling a market size and the complexities of hiring and going into new markets and those kind of things. But tell me about your journey to become a pilot. How long have you been a pilot for?
Yeah, so it's my dad's a pilot, my grandpa's a pilot,
wow.
uncle's a pilot, cousin's a pilot. So
I saw the photo of the generations. By the way,
yeah, it was a really cool photo.
You guys all look the same.
Yeah. My dad's an identical twin brother, and it's funny because when people meet me, my dad will say, "Oh no, I'm his big brother," because my dad's young and he's super fit. So, but yeah, so I'm a fourth generation pilot, really. Wow. But all my family are pilots, and that's what they did for a living. So really, I didn't start flying until I guess I was later in life, like late 20s, because I couldn't afford it. So flying, to get your licenses and go through it, it's just expensive.
So expensive.
Yeah. And I'm happy to say that, I worked multiple jobs to get through all my flight training, but there were times where I saved so much money up from working 2 jobs all summer. So I was able to spend so much money on flight lessons, and then all of a sudden you run out of money. But so really I was in finance and accounting, making a decent dollar, and I just kind of got tired of the corporate job. So one day I just said, you know what, I'm going to quit this and really go after my dream. After kind of struggling and moving up in the corporate world, I saw the cap. And so I just decided in 2008, hey, I'm going all in on real estate. So I worked multiple jobs that were kind of high-paying cash jobs, valet parking, surf lessons, lifeguarding, and then I would fly and go to school the rest of the time. Mm. So that was my journey, at least through training. But I always knew I wanted to be in real estate. That was a big thing with flying. You can fly 10 days a month, still make a good living, $200,000 or $300,000. Mm-hmm. And the good thing about flying, most of the time, you just turn your phone off when you're done. You go do your flights, turn your phone off. Mine stays on because I love doing real estate. So the flying is a fun thing. After doing it for 20 years, or call it 15 years as a career, it starts getting a little more boring. There's certain days where it's like, man, this is a great job. I just did a 12-day trip to Tahiti. I made a good living and it's fun. But honestly, I sat in my hotel doing a lot of real estate because it's exciting to me. So it was a long career to get there to the flying side, and it's been a really fun one. It's rewarding. I've been to a lot of cool places all over the world, and now I invest all of my money in real estate, and I think it's more exciting.
Yeah. Were you into real estate while you were still a commercial pilot?
So it's a good question. So I was always into real estate, but I wasn't an active investor. So all of my money went to training and getting my pilot's licenses because I knew if I moved up there, it would create more income that I could invest. So I was not an active investor. I bought my first property in 2015. So that was 5 years after I got like a commercial pilot's license when I started making money as a pilot. Right. I bought a duplex. I knew I wanted to buy an investment property, even though it was a primary. So I was able to buy that with 3.5% down. It was like $17,000. I sold my car for cash to pay for that down payment. Yeah. And as soon as the house closed, I went to the dealer and bought a new car because, just an affordable one, but I went and bought a new one. So I was borrowing my dad's extra car he had, a little Miata. So my friends were making fun of me. Didn't care because I ended up doing very well. You fit into a Miata? Barely. So you would see me driving to the airport with a suitcase in the right seat because the trunk was just so small. So, I made the sacrifices. I did really well on that first property. It was a house hack before I knew the term. Yeah. So I house hacked my first property. And I borrowed like $15,000 to put into it for upgrades, simple ones, carpet, paint, baseboards, fans. And at that time, I didn't have a lot of money, had more free time. So I'd have a friend that's an electrician come over and he showed me how to install one fan and I did the rest of the house. Okay. And then 5 months later, I did the cash out. I didn't cash out. I did the refi. And I think appraised value went up $110,000. Wow. We're talking with some labor and $15,000. And I was able to pay that $15,000 back. I borrowed pretty quickly from hard work, really. Yeah. But I was able to stabilize that property, and it was cash flowing well. So So
you got the duplex. You lived in one side, and you rented out the other side, and you fixed the whole place up, and you appraised it soon after, and you had basically increased your net worth by $100,000. Just in that one transaction.
Yeah, and it was a great kind of learning lesson. I had read so many books. I was on Bigger Pockets, kind of learning, and I had some business experience, right, and finance experience. So I knew when I went to go buy the property, hey, I need a good home inspection. And I took a friend that's an appraiser. Hey, can you just drive over to Vista, which is local in San Diego, where Grant Cardone got its start? And I said, drive over to Vista. Can you just take a peek at this house? This is the price I can get it for. I just want to know if you think it'll appraise with some upgrades. And my friend did me a favor, drove over there, and he goes, yeah, if you get it for that price, it's a good deal. And I ended up getting the house for even less than that. Nice. So it was just a really good win, and you gain confidence after something like that. And it's like that went exactly as planned. It actually went better than my numbers of what I had planned. But the market does change. But you gain confidence from that. Yeah. So I was ready for my next deal after that. And I was excited. I owned a house, paid $400,000 for it. And the rental was bringing in $1,100 at the time. So I think I was paying $1,000 a month to live in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in San Diego County with a garage, like way better than renting that I was paying $2,000 before that.
Yeah. That's in 2015. That's not too far after the crash. A lot of people got burned in that crash, my family included, So I saw people get burned in real estate, including my parents, who I thought were savvy. They were in the mortgage business, they were in the real estate business, but they got burned. They just made a bad decision. They timed the market incorrectly. And I was so scared of real estate. I didn't want to touch it because I saw people that I thought were savvy make a decision that ended up costing a lot of money. And so as a result, I'm like, I'm never going to get into real estate. Never, ever, ever, ever. And I just never even thought about it until recently. You just look around and you just say, there's something here. There's a reason why 90% of billionaires make their money in real estate, something like that. So, that first deal can be such a big impact on the future of your career, because if you completely screw up on that first deal, you probably never want to touch it again. I got lucky. I want to tell you about my first deal. Sure. My first deal, I found it on Facebook Marketplace. So I was like, okay, let me check out this real estate thing. I went into Zillow, and I just did nationwide search, the 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom, the biggest house you could find, and then under $200,000, and I did nationwide. And there was one little section in Ohio, in like Cleveland, Ohio, where there was like tons of like really big multifamily properties for like under 200 grand. And I'm like, So I joined some Facebook groups and I saw a property, the 6 unit, and it was going for 135,000. And I'd never been to Ohio, never been to Cleveland, just got a property inspection and decided to move forward with this deal. I did the numbers on it and I'm like, okay, it's already bringing in $2,700. Once I fix up this other unit, it's going to bring $3,300. And I was just like, I can't lose money on this deal. And so I went ahead and I purchased that property. Again, I'd never been to Cleveland. I got discouraged from San Diego market. I'm like, I can't afford $1 million house. I don't have, 20%, 30% to put down on an investment property, which you would need. So I bought that house. I fixed it up. I spent about $30,000. I collected rent over 1 year, which is about $30,000 in rent. And I sold it a year later for $235,000. So I made $100,000 on my first flip. And I'm like, that was interesting. Let's see if we can do that again. So since then, I've been kind of hooked, and I'm looking for just different ways that you can invest, different ways that you can, there's so many different things you can do, so many different strategies you can do in real estate. So I'm curious about what strategies you are working on in real estate now.
Yeah, you're right. I think there's 100 ways to make money in real estate, and it's hard to figure out your strategy. And the one thing that I've learned is, I started with the duplex. Your strategy can change all throughout your career. Mine has changed because I've been through so many different strategies. All of them worked well. But what I'm learning now is I am trying to limit my time spent on deals. And the more successful people I've met, they are owning bigger commercial deals. And so really my strategy, I've had short-term rentals, I've had duplexes, I've done flips, I've done fourplex units so that you can stay in the non-commercial financing. It is harder to get commercial loans once you start moving up. It's one of the intricacies of commercial. But I own a couple mobile home parks. I've moved into development on mobile home parks and a couple houses. All of that stuff, it's great. I feel like it takes a lot of man hours to manage those properties. So I'm really focused now on shifting into commercial properties where it's less management. And I think with most commercial properties, you're dealing with business owners more so. So kind of like commercial industrial, which is triple net leases. You are not having to deal with the toilets. You are not dealing with repairs. You are leasing them that commercial unit. Like I said, mostly business owners, right? And you're just not getting those calls every day. So whether I choose to use a property management, currently we're just self-managing in-house. I have an assistant. I see most of the emails that come in. There's just not a lot of work to it. So I like the commercial side. I like multifamily. It's hard to find a good deal. I like storage. I don't own any storage right now, but I'm shopping for it. And what I like to explain to people is, a flip takes a lot of work. You can make 100 grand. Our last flip, we made 120. I had a partner. I spent so many hours on the phone dealing with permit holdups. I think that was a 6-month permit holdup. So it was a year-long flip. We did well. But when you write down your man hours that you put into that deal and the phone calls all the time, which takes away from other deals or your family or whatnot, it just wasn't worth it. So I said, no more flips unless I don't have to lift a finger. So I started loaning money at a high rate just for people's rehabs. I like that better. Most of the time you get paid back. There's a few people that haven't that I'm chasing. So there's always a risk to real estate, but I'm really focused on the commercial assets, boutique hotels, and mostly commercial industrial now.
Okay. So you hear a lot about commercial real estate, and in particular, like the retail side of it, where, people aren't going into retail, malls are getting less busy. So what kind of retail? So you mentioned like hotels and so kind of what other, and industrial, like what, like a warehouse, those kind of
Yeah,
things?
exactly. So I'm not interested in commercial retail or office space, like you said. So there are strip malls, there's office space. Commercial's a wide range, right? So yeah, I'm really focused on commercial warehouse or industrial. So there's a nice niche. They kind of call it flex space. Contractors use them. You have a carpet cleaning business. So do you guys have like a warehouse to
Yeah, we
store
got a
everything?
warehouse, yeah.
Boom. So that's what I want to own. So when you're when you're leasing to businesses, you have to pay that rent to run your business. Now, a retail store, if people aren't going into their retail store and they're not making money, they're not going to pay rent. They're just going to shut down their business for the most part. So we're talking about, what I really like is about 1,500 square foot with one office, one restroom, contractors rent them, electricians, plumbers, all storing their supplies. And I started researching this commercial asset class. All my friends in the contracting space, like, yep, we all have a space. We got 1 or 2 offices. So I've been looking at developing from scratch. There's a big need in growth markets. Texas, Florida, North and South Carolina, and Tennessee are just booming markets in the country. So that's where I'll be building. Wherever they're building houses, contractors and other home services, they need those spaces.
Do you have a favorite market that you're working on right now?
Yeah, personally, I mean, I was in Texas. Florida's really expensive on insurance now.
Yeah, I heard
rates
about
have
that.
tripled.
I heard about that.
And so I won't be in the Florida market, although it's a pretty good one. So I am basically only in North Carolina and South Carolina. It's where I have multifamily, I have developments, I have mobile home parks there. I really like it. Those are the number 3 and number 4 markets, growth markets in the country. BMW just put a $3 billion car manufacturer plant in South Carolina. So I flew out there a couple months ago just to get a lay of the land, look at some properties. It's a very good market. North Carolina, South Carolina is pretty much where I'm going to be fully invested for the next few years.
I'm curious, when you say you fly out to places, what's your mode of transportation? Are you flying private, commercial?
So, most of the time I'm flying commercial. The one good thing is when my clients, if I can get like a North Carolina trip, a couple months ago, I was able to get paid to fly my client to Charlotte, which is an hour from my mobile home park.
Yeah.
So I went out there, on a layover. The rental car was paid for. It just doesn't always happen like that.
Sure.
So the other times, like last week, I flew out there to check on a mobile home park, look at a multifamily, and go see a hotel. So I kind of squeeze my time in pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I jam pack it in 2 days usually. But yeah, typically I'm on the back of the airline. It's not as fun as flying private, but, I'm not ready for a private jet just yet.
You get perks from American Airlines still?
Yeah. So as an airline pilot, you can travel for free. You're on standby. So it just kind of depends. When I'm traveling for business, most of the time I buy a first class seat. Who was it? Steve Harvey says, fly first class, pay for that extra ticket. You'll meet people with maybe in the same industry as you or higher caliber, and you won't want to sit in the back. And I think it's one of my favorite comments, because he is right. Like the first time I said, hey, it's $500 to ride in coach, and you're going to be in the middle, and it's going to be terrible. You pay $800 to ride in first class. There's a big difference. It's not necessarily about the free alcohol or free food, because the food's decent. But
yeah, well, I mean, I think at that difference, it's kind of a no-brainer. A lot of the first class differences I'll see is like $500, and then it's like $4,000 for a first class. Do you have any travel tips on how to get kind of better, or is that something you know about?
I don't have a lot of tips on that. I think I can tell you this from just being in the industry. The further you book your trip out, it's going to be cheaper. So they raise those first class seats as they fill up.
Yeah.
So when there's 20 first class seats available, hey, they're $800. And then as it gets closer to that flight, and if you're going somewhere last minute, like I did last week, there were none available. I didn't have an option. I got a premium economy seat, and I was in the coach on the way back. So it just kind of is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people that spend on their credit cards, and they'll transfer points. So I think you're really going to see a big benefit when you're going to Europe or personal vacations or things like that. But travel tips would be book your airline tickets further out in advance, because then you're just going to get a better deal no matter what.
So what project are you most excited about right now?
I'm most excited about our boutique hotel that we closed on almost 4 weeks ago now. I partnered with a really good operator, Blake Daly. He's on his 6th hotel, because I don't want to operate a hotel. He's going to take all those hundreds of phone calls with his team. I don't have time for that, but I like the deal. It's a 130 unit hotel in Townsend, Tennessee, which is right next door to the Smoky Mountains. Most people have heard of them. I've never been there. I traveled there last week. I am way more excited about the deal now just from being there. The deal on paper looks great. So I brought 8 or 10 investor friends. I invested a lot of money in myself because I believe in Blake and I believe in the plan for the property. But now that I've been there, I can't wait to take the investors and friends and family there. But moral of the story, we bought a 130 unit for $7 million. We'll do a $2 million renovation. It was an older couple that ran the hotel. They marketed on one website, and they weren't running it to its full potential. So what happens is when you bring in a team and you add value to the property, which is a $2 million remodel on all bedrooms and pools, amenities, now you can raise the rate. So just like any other real estate asset, the big difference is in hotels, you can raise and lower the rate per night based on how many rooms you have available. So with multifamily, you're pretty much doing a rent raise once a year, right? So you can only make that much more money for the 12 months. A hotel, we can, like I said, we can do it every night. So you have more control. The big reason I really like it also with the hotel thing is you don't have to deal with municipalities changing the rules on short-term rentals. So San Diego implemented a maximum amount, which I think is good, but it'll never happen in hotels. So you'll see these short-term rental operators like myself. I kind of got tired of short-term rental operations. And when the city starts shutting them down or banning them, New York banned them, the hotels will never get banned. It's zone commercial. And a lot of people don't know, on our hotel, it's on Airbnb. I didn't know that until I got in. So we're on 14 different platforms. The day we took over our operation, it was currently only, like I said, one platform. We put it onto 14 platforms. We were so booked the first 2 weeks, we actually didn't have enough cleaners on staff. And the old owner's like, yeah, no, it's not that busy of a week. There's like 14 bookings on the paper around Christmas. It's colder or whatever. We had 93 bookings. We went from 14 to 93. It's a good problem to have. We had to hire cleaners like right away because people were starting to complain. So anyways, that's my favorite project right now.
Those kind of projects, storage, mobile home parks, kind of hotels, they're not just real estate. They're a business, right? And you have some people look at the storage space and they think, okay, I can buy this storage unit and I'm going to get higher returns. But there's a whole, you have extra costs. You have marketing costs. You have maintenance costs that you wouldn't have with a normal thing. So, but the returns are going to be higher. I think that's kind of an interesting observation. Another thing that I'm curious about is, so you partnered with somebody that was going to run the hotel, right? So this person was an investor also, or you hired this person as like an employee, or what's that relationship like with the person that's going to run the hotel?
Yeah, that's a good question. So actually the person that's going to run the hotel, he found the deal through his network. And then I got introduced to him through another friend of mine, Dave, the military from Military to Millionaire. He's a great guy. He helps veterans learn about investing in real estate and have more to life than just the military pay. Anyway, so we got linked up together, and he basically is already an experienced operator. He needed investors to invest in the deal because his network is only so large. And I said, hey, I really like the deal. Let me look at it. And when it comes down to these bigger deals, a $7 million hotel purchase, number one, like financing is very hard right now. The banks have tightened up a lot. So to run a project like that, it's hard to do it by yourself as an operator. So I came on, I brought in money. I brought in friends with money because I knew the deal would be really good. And I also like the operator. I've partnered with certain people before where they'll say one thing and they don't run the project to its full potential or what was planned. And then you're not getting the returns. And so you really got to be careful with who you partner with. So I really liked Blake. He's a younger guy. He's very sharp. He's in the Air Force, getting ready to retire to run hotels full time, which I really like. So yeah, he already had an operation plan. He has a full team in place, and I want really passive income. So I'm able to invest. I am a partner in the deal. I signed on the loan. They used my net worth to qualify. So I bring value too, right? And because Blake's a younger guy, he's been very successful, but I also have more years dealing with loans and loan signings, and I can provide value with certain tips on how to talk to investors or this. So far I really like it, and I like the project because the team are all really good people. And I think you have to believe in your operator. So if I didn't believe in Blake that he couldn't run the hotel like he's planning to, then I probably wouldn't invest in the deal.
Yeah. I'm curious about what financing looks like for a $7 million deal. I mean, I'm familiar with fix and flips and, multifamily, stuff like that. But what kind of interest rates are you getting on a deal that size, especially in today's market?
Yeah, so I mean, it's very hard to get qualified no matter what. So I took this deal to a couple broker friends of mine, and they didn't really like the deal just because it's an older, outdated property. Even though the area that we're in gets 3 million visitors a year, they considered it rural because we're 20 minutes away from Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg, which are two really large touristy attractions, right? They didn't like it because our hotel's in the middle of it. So they were like, we wouldn't loan on this property. So we went to about 50 lenders until we found one.
Wow, 50 lenders.
50 lenders.
Jeez.
They just didn't like it. So because you have to prove a formula, right? Right. So we actually went with a bridge lender. So a bridge lender is a high interest rate. We're paying 14% on we got a 6-month loan. So it's kind of just to put some money into the property, and we're actually rolling it over into a USDA loan, which is also, those are a good loan. That'll be at a 10% interest rate, but they take 4 to 6 months to close. And the seller for us was like, no, we're not waiting that long, or we're going to just put money into the hotel and run it ourselves. Yeah. So we had to close. So we went with a bridge loan. You pay more money. They're a little bit more lenient. But so 14% is our rate on that hotel. So
14%.
We can't wait until April. So we're 2.5 months out when we roll it over or transition into a USDA loan. And from there, it's like any other asset. So we're going to put the $2 million into the hotel, renovate, add amenities like a pickleball court, a miniature putt-putt. You need all those amenities, right? And so once we do that, now we can charge higher rates. For example, our average daily rate at the hotel is around $80 right now. And when we fully remodel it, we should be in the 130s. So we're going to add $50 of value per night on average across 130 rooms. That's one big thing with commercial real estate as well. Just like a multifamily. So if you own a single family rental, you're pretty much only going to raise the rent $100, maybe $200, maybe $300 if you're in San Diego where the property's $1 million. You get one rent raise a year, right? And with the commercial, even with multifamily, even though you get the one raise per year, if you have 40 units, 80 units, 100 units, you're not just adding $200 or $300 to the top end of the business. You're adding $10,000 across all the units. So that's why I like commercial. If you run it right, you can raise rent $25 in my mobile home park that has 30 units. I already like the numbers of that. You know, I'm getting ready to do a final rent raise before I sell it because your mobile home park or your commercial building, it's valued on what income it brings in. It's not necessarily valued on what someone on Zillow thinks it's worth, because what it's worth on paper is what income it brings in. So the mobile home park that I'm getting ready to sell so that I can go into bigger commercial deals is I'll do one last rent raise. I've already done one last year. Here's a new one. I'll rent raise across the board, and I'll probably make an extra $200,000 just on the sell because I'm raising the income. So I like the projects. You can add value. You know, we put brand new mailboxes in. We put a new sign in. We implemented software so people don't have to pay. They were paying cash. Manager was going around, then cash was missing. So we've lost some money because of that. People say they paid, they didn't pay. So when we go mobile home park, hotels, anywhere, everything is implemented in software. Yeah. So if someone says they paid their rent, no, you didn't, because the app is telling me you didn't deposit it at all. So it really simplifies it, takes work off the table, but you can just track your systems a lot better.
Yeah. I'm surprised that it was so hard to get funding for something like that because, you know, typically with my limited experience with multifamilies or rental investment properties, you know, as long as it cash flows to a certain percent, you know, they don't look at the net worth or the income of the borrower, you look at the asset only. But it sounds like this one is more of like a business loan. And so this is a little bit different where they're looking at both the asset and then they're having you as a personal guarantor. Is that right?
That's correct. But you do have the same in multifamily. So they're always going to look at the asset first. But when you're buying underperforming assets, they're going to look and go, okay, well, here's the new bill. Because I think the guy only owed $3 million on his total former loan, right? And they're going to look at how well is the hotel performing. Because it wasn't performing that well, they'll look at our pro forma, but until it's a proven fact, you can't refinance on that. So even in a multifamily, they want to make sure that that you have liquid available, right? Liquid cash available in the bank account, so that if something happened in this hotel, we just ran it poorly, that we could cover the bill. Right. So that's a big thing. They look for all the tax returns, bank statements of every single business I own. So it was a big deal. So when we bought the hotel, all the partners have to supply this. So if you're an operator trying to buy commercial, you have to have someone with some liquidity in their bank account to prove to the bank, hey, we got $2 million sitting in certain bank accounts to cover the $75,000 mortgage we're paying right now per month. So if we don't run the hotel right, the bank is looking at all of our numbers at all times to protect their investment as well. Yeah. So it's the same with multifamily. Yes, they look at the asset. It's a big part of it, but they also want to make sure you're liquid and that your net worth is covered. Mm-hmm. So any commercial deal, so storage, industrial, hotel, multifamily, mobile home park, being a sponsor and having your net worth, they research all of that. So it does make it harder.
Yeah. So a lot of these deals, there's going to be a lot. If you're trying new things and you're trying new investment strategies, there's going to be times where you don't know what you're doing, and there's going to be a learning curve involved. So I'm curious about who you turn to for help. Do you have a mentor or a coach or certain educational books or things or podcasts? How do you find help when you're trying something for the first time?
So I love reading books. There are a lot of good books out there. I think any book you read, you can get one or two things out of, no matter what, whether it's mindset, whether it talks about flipping, management money. There's so many good books out there. And I just think I take a little bit out of each one, but really it comes down to mentors and not partnering, but asking people or being around people that are doing the deals that you want to do. So for example, I didn't know a lot about hotels. I understood the business. Rich Summers is in San Diego. He's a friend of mine. He was a big STR multifamily guy. Now he's a boutique hotel guy. I listen to his podcast all the time. It's a great podcast. He has a lot of different guests on, but he talks a lot about boutique hotels. So I've learned half of what I know about boutique hotels from Rich Summers and his podcast. Then the other half is from the boutique hotel investor that I partnered with, Blake Daly. So we got on some calls. I go, hey, I know commercial. I understand the concept. Teach me a couple more things about hotel operations that I might not be familiar with. Another thing is I want to get into more storage units. It's a good, safe play. It's been a growing market for the last couple of years. It's hard to find a deal. But yesterday I reached out to somebody a couple months ago and we met up for lunch last night. Yesterday. I don't know what number he owns. He owns a lot of storage, and he flies his own private jet around to look at storage units. So that'll tell you something. Private jets aren't cheap. Great guy. I'm helping him with some aviation things and some pilot stuff. And he said, hey, what can I help you with? I said, well, I'm learning storage, and you implement software. You're going to buy from mom and pops. You're going to add value. You're going to raise rents. He goes, yep, that's everything we do. But so I said, hey, if I find some deals that I think are pretty decent, can I send him over to you? And whether I bring him in as an expert, but he's a mentor, whether he knows it or not, of mine, but I'm going to add value to that. Yeah. So those are just like two of my mentors. I go to, conferences for the commercial and industrial side. I went to a conference 2 months ago in Austin, and I networked there. I learned some things about development, how they lease them out. So I'm always learning. So I think it's a great idea to get mentors. I think there's a lot of people out there too, just selling coaching packages. So you really do your due diligence and get a mentor that you like. Mm-hmm. So I like real people, whether they're family men or maybe they're former athletes. I learned something a while back. I'm a former athlete, but athletes just work really hard.
Yeah.
They're competitive. They want to win. And maybe that's where my background comes from, just I want to win and I want to be the best I can be.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to settle for just being a pilot. It's a great gig. You can make $300,000 a year and live a comfortable life. But there's more to life about that. Like I've always been an entrepreneur and I want to work for myself. That's why I think real estate is just one of the best businesses if people can delay their gratification.
Yeah.
It is not a get rich quick. But the thing is, year after year, if you keep going and you're doing bigger deals, getting better partners, things like that, it just starts snowballing. And then one day you wake up a couple years later and you're like, wow, I couldn't believe my net worth when I had to fill it out for that last loan. It's like, I can't believe
nice.
it. The funny part is when you start getting mentors, your number will go up. Everybody has a goal. Hey, I want to make $100,000 a year. Hey, I want to make $500,000 a year. I'd like to be worth $2 million was my number. But not when you go meet guys that have $100 million in a jet. And they're normal, nice guys with families. And it's like, wait, well, he can do it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
So now it's just playing catch up, but just, taking your time, choosing the right mentors and partners, I think is a big deal in this game.
Yeah. I think you have to be careful about the goals you set because if you work hard enough, you'll eventually hit them. I had this realization, when I'm growing my home service business, where it's like I want to hit $1 million revenue. I want to hit $1 million revenue. I'm like, wait, we're gonna hit $1 million like next year. So like, how can if we're gonna hit it so quickly, then I have the wrong goal. But I want to ask you, I think it's really awesome how you were able to learn while you earn while you learn. So you aren't necessarily looking for mentors where they can just give you information. You're looking for partners that you can add value to, where you can add value to each other, and then you are actively involved, and that's really the best way to learn. I mean,
Yeah.
you can get all the knowledge you want from somebody, but until you're actually in the dirt, making the mistakes, getting in there, your learning is going to be limited.
Yeah, I agree. Because you can listen. Somebody can talk your ear off, tell you everything there is about that asset class or how to do better in business, how to market. So until you actually implement it, you're really not gaining any advantage to it.
Yeah.
So if a mentor is going to take their time and share the information with you, put it to use.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it needs to be put to use tomorrow, but at least overall, if you start putting that to use or lean on them, eventually, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to buy a big storage deal. I'm going to send it to my mentor. He's going to tell me, hey, this is a bad deal or this is a good deal. Whether he comes in as a partner, whether he's an advisor. Because I can tell you right now, if I go find a $5 million storage deal, I'm going to need to bring a couple partners on. And my partners are going to go, hey, how many storage units do you have? I know this space well, but I've got 0. But guess what? My advisor that's going to come in on this deal, whether he signs on it, he helps me operate, and he owns 20% but doesn't put money in. Those are the things and the partnerships and connections that you use. So you're using leverage. He would own some of the business, but he would help operate. So it's kind of like a win-win for everyone. And that's where I've learned with mentorships and partnerships. You don't have to just do everything yourself. I've been doing it for years myself, and I'm so busy.
Yeah.
I barely have time for phone calls unless it's going to make me money. So I think partnering and just having a community, right, of good people, hard workers, all like-minded, that's pretty much priceless education.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you go to a conference, there's so many real estate conferences. There's so many coaching programs. I've paid for a few. Some I haven't even done because I don't have time. But you can take a little bit away from everything and then find what you really want to do and then just go after that and concentrate on that one or two things. And for me, I'm a relationship guy. I want everyone to win, but I only want to work with people that, have good moral character. They're good people. Those are the people. So for me, I'm working more on relationships and putting bigger deals together. As you said before, it is the same whether it's a $1 million commercial deal or a $10 million deal. And what I mean is it's the same amount of work. Same amount of work. Why not just do one big $10 million deal instead of 10 $1 million deals? Yeah. It's one set of taxes, one set of tenant leases, but the key is you got to bring in partners. So I would way rather have 10 partners, or investors on a big deal than have 10 different small deals by myself doing it all myself.
Yeah. Well, we got a few more minutes. I want to ask you about your content creation. Now, I noticed you kind of been getting into that recently. How does that fit into your overall business objective?
Yeah. So I've noticed for years, I've been active on Instagram, just personal stuff. It's fun, right? And for years, like Ryan Pineda, my friend Rich Summers started from zero, and he just blew up because he went all in on it. And Dan Fleshman, he is all about, hey, build your brand. That's the new business. And I think he's right. It's not just about marketing a website. It's you're the face of your business, right? Yeah. So you need to show people about it. So people aren't watching TV as much. They're going to YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. I thought I would never have a TikTok. I always thought it was kind of dumb and for younger people. For whatever reason, my content is doing really well on TikTok, and then that leads them to my website. So you just never know, where you're going to get a lead from, whether it's a partner, a mentor, a coach, a student, depending on what you're going for. But for me, since I fly private jets, everyone's always asking me, it's, who you flying for? How much money is it? This and that. I have so much knowledge in aviation, like 20 years of experience, let alone my dad and all my other friends. So I have access to jets and all different types. I might as well share that with people because it's interesting. So it's just one of my specialties, I guess, is like I have a pretty good personality. It's gotten me far in business, and clients like that. So I might as well put it on camera and just kind of teach people random stuff about private jets, how much they cost. Everyone's always just dumbfounded by how expensive it is. And it's like, yeah, it's for the real wealthy. It's not, so it's really fun. So my real objective with it is teach people about flying. A lot of people comment, they want this type of video. They want, hey, do a video on what turbulence is, because most people are scared of turbulence. I just heard that last week. So I will be doing a video about turbulence. I would have never thought of that. So it's really fun when people start saying, man, your content is so good. I love that you're doing it. And it's funny because most of the billionaires and these multimillionaires, they're not doing content. They don't need it. Yeah. But the guys that they say it's where the brands are going. Yeah. So attention is on your phone. And for me, it's just, I would like to help people create more wealth. I have a lot of friends reaching out. They're my investors now. Hey, I got some money sitting in the bank earning 6%, 7% in the stock market, or watching it go up and down, just like my old 401k. So there's not a lot of education out there, but the education is now on YouTube and social media. So if I can help educate friends, followers, whatever, to invest in real estate because I really believe in it, I just think it's a good use of my time, my money, and it's really fun. It's exciting.
It is kind of fun too. Great. So lastly, I want to know if you have any advice for people that are new to this world. How can somebody with little to no experience get their feet wet in real estate?
So I think the biggest thing with real estate is don't overanalyze too much. So do some studying, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, for me, that was the first book that got me started in business, real estate, got my mind turning. I think everybody needs to read that book.
There's a lot of controversy around the book these days.
There is these days because the book was written in the early 2000s. I read it in 2004. So, but again, going back to take what you want out of it. There's a lot of good advice in there. Yeah. It just talks about, hey, as a W-2 employee, you can't really just get rich. The government's going to take all your money. You have to diversify and be either a business owner and move into the different asset classes or real estate. There's a tax play in real estate. Mm-hmm. It's not just about owning that property. You get so many benefits: tax flow, appreciation, depreciation. A lot of people don't know about depreciation on taxes. So I think the biggest thing is get some mentors. Find some people that are doing more than you, and don't be afraid to jump in. The second deal I did after my first one, I don't know what took me so long. It really wasn't a lack of anything. It wasn't lack of money. It was just, I was busy. I was traveling the world, having fun. And every investor will tell you, I wish I would have started sooner. Yeah. Properties just continually go up. So I think the biggest thing is, find some people doing what you want to do, doing more than you. Go to some conferences, but don't just look at the market for a year, And I think the other big thing is that I wish I would have done it earlier. Partner with someone. Yeah. Bring some money to the table and partner with someone already doing it. Hey, I want 25% of this deal. I'll put most of the money up, but I'm going to shadow you. You teach me these things. that is priceless education, where oftentimes in my deals, I'm teaching myself. I read some books, and the mobile home park I taught myself how to operate. And it's, you know, if I would have partnered with someone that already operated, probably would have learned a lot faster.
Yeah.
So my biggest advice is just get out there. It's you're never too late to start. I don't care what age you are. The earlier you start, earlier the money starts snowballing.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Captain Curt. It's been a pleasure. Please follow Captain Curt on all of his socials. Follow his journey.